The Glypt were beings of crystal and time. Their forms, multifaceted and slowly shifting, refracted the light of ancient stars. Their civilization was unimaginably old, their archives holding records that predated the formation of younger galaxies. To the Glypt, existence was about permanence, about the slow, deliberate accretion of knowledge and the shaping of reality over eons. Change was a glacial process, stability the ultimate virtue. When their long-range survey probes first registered the species, humanity, from the Sol system, the Glypt catalogued them with mild, detached interest. Organic, short-lived, high emotional variance, technologically nascent, prone to rapid, unstable expansion and internal conflict. The Glypt archives, vast crystalline matrices that hummed with the accumulated data of millennia, filed humanity under ephemeral phenomena minor. Their creations, their bustling cities that rose and fell in mere centuries, their fleeting empires, their cacophonous music and brightly colored, rapidly decaying art were seen as the frantic, almost pitiable scrabblings of a species destined to burn out quickly, leaving little more than dust. The Glypt, who measured their projects in geological ages, could not comprehend such a furious, fleeting existence. Patience, they believed, was the architect of anything truly lasting. Humanity, in their view, possessed none. Glypt Archivist Prime Xenochrist 7 was tasked with a routine sweep of Sector 774 Alpha, a mostly empty region of space where older, less dense star clusters were slowly fading. It was considered a quiet sector, suitable for meticulous, undisturbed data collection of cosmic background radiation and gravitational wave echoes from the universe's dawn. Xenochrist 7, a towering structure of amethyst and quartz facets, moved with the unhurried grace of a continental drift. Its consciousness, spread throughout its crystalline lattice, processed information with calm, cold precision. It was during this sweep that a minor sensor drone, designated Probe 774 Alpha 9, detected an anomaly. A small, metallic object, tumbling erratically through the interstellar void, far from any star system capable of producing it. The object was clearly artificial, ancient by human standards, yet a mere speck of dust in the timeline of the Glypt. Object identified, the probe reported, its signal taking decades to reach Xenochrist 7 at light speed, though for the Glypt such delays were trivial. Terran origin, designation. Voyager 1, composition. Primarily aluminum, gold, copper, power source, decaying radioisotope, trajectory, interstellar, uncontrolled. Xenochrist 7 accessed the Glypt archives on Terrans, primitive spacefarers. This probe was likely one of their early, clumsy attempts to reach beyond their planetary cradle. The Glypt had encountered countless such artifacts from countless fleeting species over the eons. Most were just debris. Retrieve object for archival analysis, Xenochrist 7 instructed, a directive that would take another century for the slow-moving collection drones to execute. Minimal priority. When Voyager 1 finally arrived in Xenochrist 7's vast, crystalline analysis chamber, it was treated with the gentle, meticulous care the Glypt afforded all potential data sources. Its metallic surfaces were scarred by micrometeoroids, its internal systems long dead from the cold of space. Attached to its side was a golden disk, etched with strange symbols. Initial scans dismissed the disk as primitive data storage. Analog recording. Low information density by Glypt standards. Likely simplistic representations of their local environment or biology, the preliminary analysis reported. The Glypt used crystal matrices capable of holding the entire history of a star in a single shard. A flat metal plate seemed almost comically inefficient. Xenochrist 7, in a rare moment of what might pass for Glypt curiosity, decided to allocate a sliver of its processing power to deciphering the golden record. The symbols on its cover were a key, a Rosetta Stone of sorts, designed to be understood by any intelligent species with a grasp of basic physics and mathematics. For the Glypt, deciphering it was child's play, taking a mere standard Earth day. The first sounds emerged, mathematical tones, greetings in multiple human languages, a chaotic babble to Glypt senses, yet undeniably intentional. Then, music. The glypt had encountered music before, from many species. It was usually ordered, mathematical, reflecting the harmony of celestial mechanics or the crystalline structures of their own beings. This was different. There was Bach, elegant and structured, which the glypt could appreciate on a purely formal level. But then came Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good, a wave of raw, unbridled energy, a celebration of movement, of joy, of something intensely, bafflingly alive. Then Stravinsky, then folk songs from across the tiny human planet, voices filled with sorrow, with laughter, with longing. Blind Willie Johnson's Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground, a wordless moan of profound human suffering and endurance echoed through Xenochrist Seven's chamber. Xenochrist 7 paused its other eon-spanning calculations. This was not low information density. The amount of raw data was small, yes, but the conceptual density, the layers of emotion, history, and aspiration packed into each sound, each image encoded on the record, was staggering. The images began to decode. A diagram of human anatomy, quaintly biological. A mother nursing a child, a common enough sight in the universe, yet rendered here with a strange tenderness. Pictures of their cities, their structures, their diverse peoples. An image of athletes sprinting, of a violinist playing, of a group of humans eating and laughing. Daily life. Mundane, yet not. Then came the scientific data. Diagrams of their solar system, their DNA structure, their technological achievements, all offered up with a naive openness. Xenochrist 7 accessed the mission statement of this Voyager probe, translated from the data on the record itself. It was a message in a bottle thrown into the cosmic ocean. A message not expected to be found for perhaps 1 billion years. A message from a species that knew it would likely be long dead before it was ever received. The glypt understanding of time was profound. They comprehended eons, the birth and death of stars, the slow dance of galaxies. But this was different. This was a deliberate attempt by a short-lived species to project its essence, its soul, across a temporal abyss they themselves could not hope to cross. It wasn't about physical permanence, like the glypt's own crystalline forms or their enduring archives. It was an attempt at conceptual permanence, a legacy of thought, of feeling, of art. Xenochrist 7 focused on a particular segment, the sounds of earth, whale song, wind, rain, a human heartbeat, laughter, a kiss. To the glypt, whose interactions were based on the slow exchange of precisely modulated light patterns and resonant frequencies within their crystal structures, these sounds were a chaotic torrent. But within that chaos was an undeniable intentionality, a desire to share, to say, we were here. This is who we were. This is what we loved, what we feared, what we hoped for. A new, deeply unsettling thought began to resonate through Xenochrist 7's crystalline mind. The glypt built monuments of stone and light that lasted for ages. They accumulated data in archives designed to outlive stars. But what if true permanence wasn't just about enduring, but about imprinting? About sending a piece of yourself so far into the future, into the unknown, that it transcended your own fleeting existence? The Voyager record wasn't just data, it was a seed. A cultural spore designed to travel the void and perhaps take root in an unknown mind, an unknown time. It was an act of audacious, illogical, terrifying hope. Xenochrist 7, for the first time in its multi-millennial existence, felt something akin to awe and a profound disquiet. These humans, these ephemeral phenomena minor, had grasped a form of immortality that had never occurred to the glypt. The glypt sought to outlast time. Humans sought to infect it. Re-evaluate species 734. Terrans, Xenochrist 7 broadcast to the central glypt archives, the command echoing through the network of ancient crystalline minds. Focus. Conceptual legacy projection. Urgency. Highest. The request caused a slow, seismic ripple through the glypt consensus. Highest urgency for a species deemed minor. Other archivist primes, beings whose facets had witnessed the swirling of nebulae into stars, accessed the Voyager data. They too felt the strange resonance, the passion, the sheer, audacious will to be remembered, to be understood, even after extinction. The Glypt began to search. If humans had done this once with this primitive probe, had they done it elsewhere, in other ways? They turned their ancient sensors, usually reserved for tracking the subtle shifts in spacetime, towards human transmissions. They sifted through the cacophony of human radio waves, their television broadcasts, their internet chatter, signals the Glypt had previously dismissed as meaningless noise. Now they heard the stories. They saw the art. They analyzed the music, the philosophies, the endless human debates about meaning and purpose. They saw a species obsessed with recording itself, with telling its own tale in a million different voices on a million different fragile media. They found digital archives, vast libraries of human thought and creativity, stored on servers that would decay in centuries, yet replicated and shared with a fervent intensity. They found art carved into moon rock, messages buried in desert sands, time capsules designed to last a few thousand years, a blink to a Glypt, an eternity to a human. The Glypt discovered the human concept of memes, ideas that replicated, mutated, and spread through their global consciousness with the speed of a virus. These weren't physical structures, but they had a life of their own, shaping human thought and culture, evolving with terrifying rapidity. To the Glypt, whose own culture was based on slow, deliberate consensus and the preservation of ancient, unchanging truths, this was both horrifying and fascinating. Humanity wasn't building a single monolithic legacy. They were unleashing a storm of them, a blizzard of ideas, hoping some would land, some would endure, some would carry their essence forward. Xenochrist 7 presented its findings to the Glypt conclave, the assembly of the oldest and wisest. The Terrans are not ephemeral in the way we understood, Xenochrist 7 resonated, its internal light pulsing with complex modulations. Their physical forms are fleeting, their technology transient, but their concepts, their ideas, their stories, their art, they cast these into the void with a power we have underestimated. They are not building monuments of stone to last eons. They are weaving tapestries of thought and emotion, designed to be rewoven, reinterpreted, to live on in other minds. They seek not to exist unchanged through time, but to change time itself by what they leave behind. A senior Glypt, oldest shard, whose crystalline structure was clouded with the dust of ages, resonated slowly. They whisper to the future, knowing they will not hear a reply. Precisely, Xenochrist 7 confirmed. It is an act of faith in the existence of others, of future minds, an act of profound, almost irrational, connection across the deepest chasms of time and space. They are not merely living, they are imprinting, aggressively. The Glypt culture, static for eons, began to experience something unheard of: internal debate, turmoil. What was the purpose of their own endless, silent accumulation if their knowledge remained locked away, unshared, unechoed? They had achieved permanence, but had they achieved legacy in the human sense? Were they merely rocks, however ancient and knowledgeable, or were they participants in the universe's unfolding story? The Voyager record, a tiny golden disk, became a catalyst. Some Glypt argued for maintaining their ancient ways of silent observation. Others, a growing faction, argued that the Glypt, too, needed to learn to speak to the future, to share their vast understanding, not just preserve it. Humanity, unaware, continued its chaotic, vibrant existence. They launched more probes, beamed more messages, created more art, told more stories. They were still considered young, often foolish, by many of the galaxy's older races. But the Glypt knew better. They began to refer to humans, in their slow, crystalline internal dialogues, as the echo shapers. The species that, despite its brevity of life, sought to fill the emptiness of time with the echoes of its passing. The Glypt changed their archival protocols. They began to actively search for and preserve not just the physical artifacts of dying civilizations, but their conceptual legacies, their stories, their art, their hopes, recorded with a new sense of urgency and respect. The Glypt themselves, inspired or perhaps shamed by humanity's audacious hope, began to contemplate their own message to the cosmos. a message that would not just be a record of what they knew, but a sharing of who they were. Voyager 1, tumbling on through the cold, silent dark, carried its golden burden, unaware that it had fundamentally altered the oldest civilization in the galaxy. It was a tiny, fragile thing, carrying the concentrated essence of a noisy, emotional, and utterly determined young species. A species that, against all logic and all odds, simply refused to go quietly into the endless night without leaving a trace, a whisper, an echo. And the universe, in the form of the ancient Glypt, had finally, unexpectedly, leaned in to listen. The Glypt realized that while their own existence was a testament to enduring the ages, humanity's was a vibrant, desperate, beautiful attempt to touch the face of eternity with nothing but a song and a story.